On the 2nd of August, 216 BC, the largest army the Roman Republic had ever put into the field marched out to win a war. 86,000 men, gleaming iron, disciplined ranks, and the absolute certainty that numbers always win. They were facing an enemy barely half their size. By sundown, most of them would be lying dead on a single field, in what remains, to this day, one of the bloodiest single days of combat in all of human history. They were not destroyed because they were weak. They were destroyed because one man understood something they didn't, that an enemy's greatest strength can be turned into the weapon that kills him. His name was Hannibal Barca, and what he did on that dusty plain in southern Italy is still dissected, diagram by diagram, in the finest military academies on earth. Generals have spent 2,000 years trying to repeat it. Most have failed. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how a smaller, surrounded, supposedly doomed army annihilated a force nearly twice its size, and the timeless lesson hidden inside it that applies far beyond any battlefield. But to understand the trap, you first have to understand the man and the hatred that built him. To understand Hannibal, you have to go back a generation, to a rivalry between the two great powers of the Western Mediterranean: Rome, the rising military machine of Italy, and Carthage, the wealthy trading empire of North Africa. They had already fought once, in a long and brutal struggle known as the First Punic War, and Carthage had lost. Rome stripped away its territories, drained its treasury, and humiliated it. For one Carthaginian general, that defeat was unbearable. His name was Hamilcar Barca, and he was Hannibal's father. According to the ancient historians, when Hannibal was just a boy, his father made him swear a solemn oath that he would never, as long as he lived, be a friend to Rome. Hannibal carried that oath like a blade for the rest of his life. He grew up in army camps in Spain, where Carthage was rebuilding its power and its wealth. He learned to ride, to command, and to endure hardship beside his soldiers. And when he finally took command of the Carthaginian army, still a young man, he did not wait for Rome to come to him. He went looking for the war. In 218 BC, Hannibal did something so audacious that Rome simply did not believe it was possible. Instead of sailing across the sea where the Roman navy ruled, he marched his entire army, tens of thousands of men, cavalry, and even a column of war elephants, overland, up through Spain, across southern France, and then straight over the snow-choked passes of the Alps in the dead of winter. It was a nightmare. Freezing storms, narrow ledges, hostile mountain tribes, and avalanches devoured his army. He lost nearly half his men and most of his elephants on the way. But when the survivors finally staggered down onto the plains of northern Italy, Hannibal had achieved the impossible. He had brought the war to Rome's own doorstep, from the one direction Rome never thought to guard. And then he started winning. At the Trebia River, he lured an overconfident Roman army across freezing water and crushed it with a hidden ambush. Months later, at Lake Trasimene, he did something even bolder. He concealed his entire army in the morning mist along a narrow road beside the lake, and when the Roman column marched blindly into the gap, he sprang the trap. Thousands of Romans were cut down or driven into the water before they even understood what was happening. A Roman consul lay dead. Rome was reeling. An invincible enemy was loose inside Italy, and no one could stop him. At first, Rome tried patience. A cautious commander named Fabius shadowed Hannibal's army for months, refusing to give battle, burning crops, picking at his supply lines, a slow and frustrating strategy of avoidance. It worked, in a sense, but Rome was proud and the people were furious at watching an invader roam their land unchallenged. So the Senate made a fateful decision. No more delay, no more caution. They would raise the single largest army in the history of the Republic. 8 full legions, swelled with allies, 86,000 men, march straight at Hannibal and end this with the simplest logic in all of warfare. More men, more iron, overwhelming force. Crush him and go home. It should have worked. On paper, it could not fail. And that absolute confidence was exactly what Hannibal was counting on. But Rome's giant army carried a hidden flaw, and it wasn't in the ranks. It was at the top. The 2 men commanding this enormous force were very different. One was Lucius Aemilius Paulus, an experienced and cautious leader who sensed that rushing into open battle against Hannibal was dangerous. The other was Gaius Terentius Varro, bold, aggressive, and certain that all this caution was cowardice. And here was the problem. By Roman custom, when two consuls shared an army, they took turns commanding it, switching control every single day. Imagine an army of 86,000 men whose entire strategy could flip overnight depending on whose turn it was. Hannibal knew this. He simply waited for the right day. The day the aggressive one was in charge. The two armies finally came together near a small town called Cannae, on a wide, flat, open plain beside a river in southern Italy. For Hannibal, the ground was perfect, flat, open country where cavalry could run free, and he had the better cavalry. On the morning of the battle, Varro drew up the Roman army in the traditional way. A vast, deep block of infantry, packed shoulder to shoulder, designed to do one thing: smash straight forward through the enemy center by sheer crushing weight. With nearly double the men, Varro intended to punch a hole right through the middle of Hannibal's line and shatter it. It was the obvious plan. It was a strong plan, and Hannibal had built his entire battle around making them believe in it. Here is where the genius reveals itself. A normal general lines his army up straight and puts his best troops in the center, where the fighting is hardest. Hannibal did the opposite. He took his weakest, least reliable infantry, his Spanish and Gallic foot soldiers, and placed them in the very center of his line. Then he pushed that center forward, bulging it out toward the Romans in the shape of a crescent, a curve bowing outward like the edge of a drawn bow. His best soldiers, the hardened and disciplined African veterans, he did not put in the center at all. He hid them on both ends of the line, pulled back, holding their position, waiting, and his powerful cavalry he massed on the wings, on the very edges of the field. From the Roman side, that bulging center looked like a gift. It looked like a mistake. It was the closest point, the most exposed point, exactly where their massive infantry block wanted to strike. They saw a weak, overextended enemy center begging to be broken, and they could not have been more eager to break it. The battle opened on the wings with the cavalry, and here, Hannibal's horsemen were devastating. His heavy cavalry crashed into the Roman cavalry on one flank and simply shattered it, scattering them from the field. That detail seems small in the moment. Remember it. It is about to decide everything. Then the infantry collided. 86,000 Romans surged forward and slammed into Hannibal's bulging center with everything they had, and the center, exactly as Hannibal had planned, began to give way. Not breaking, not routing, bending. Slowly, in control, the Spanish and Gallic troops gave ground step by step, drawing the Romans forward. And the Romans, seeing the enemy retreat, smelled victory. They pushed harder, deeper. They funneled more and more men toward the center to finish the kill, packing themselves tighter and tighter as they advanced. The crescent that had once bulged outward toward them slowly reversed, from a bow curving out into a deep bowl curving in, a bowl with the entire Roman army pouring into it. And then, in a single moment, Hannibal closed his hand. On Hannibal's signal, the trap snapped shut from 3 directions at once. Those elite African veterans, the ones who had waited silently at both ends of the line while the center bent backward, turned inward and smashed into the exposed flanks of the Roman mass left and right at the same time. And the cavalry that had swept the field earlier, it came thundering back, circled completely behind the Roman army and crashed into them from the rear, sealing every avenue of escape. In a matter of minutes, the largest army Rome had ever assembled found itself surrounded on all 4 sides, front, both flanks, and back, by an enemy half its size. What followed was not a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. The Romans were packed so tightly, crushed together by their own numbers and the closing walls of the enemy, that thousands of men could not even raise their swords or lift their shields. Their greatest advantage, their overwhelming numbers, had become a death sentence. There was nowhere to go. The trap tightened hour after hour. By the end of that single day, ancient historians tell us that somewhere between 50 and 70,000 Roman soldiers lay dead on that one field. Among them, the consul Paulus, dozens of senators, and an entire generation of Rome's leadership. To put that in perspective, that is tens of thousands of men killed in a few hours, by hand, with iron, a rate of slaughter so staggering it would not be matched on a single day for 2,000 years. When the news reached Rome, the city descended into pure panic. People believed Hannibal would appear at the gates at any moment, and one of his own officers, a cavalry commander named Hannibal, urged him to do exactly that, to march on Rome immediately and end the war forever. When Hannibal hesitated, Hannibal is said to have turned to him and delivered one of the most famous lines in all of military history. "You know how to win a victory, Hannibal, but you do not know how to use one." And that single sentence is the crack that splits this entire story in two. Because here is the chilling paradox. Hannibal won at Cannae more completely, more perfectly, than almost any general has ever won anything, and he still lost the war. He stood on the greatest victory in the ancient world, and somehow it slipped through his fingers. How a genius like this could win every battle and still lose everything, that is the story of the next episode, and it may be even more important than this one. But before that, the lesson, because Cannae is far more than an ancient war story. Look closely at what Hannibal actually did. He was outnumbered, and he knew it. He did not pretend to be stronger than he was. He did not try to meet Rome's strength head on with strength of his own because he didn't have it. Instead, he did something almost no one has the discipline to do. He took his own weakness and turned it into bait. He offered his enemy exactly what they wanted most: a soft, bulging center, an easy target, the promise of a quick victory. And he let their own confidence, their own aggression, their own crushing numbers pull them into the one place where all of that strength became useless. He didn't beat Rome's power. He used it. He let the enemy defeat themselves. And that pattern reaches far beyond any battlefield. In business, when a smaller competitor lets a bloated giant overextend into a trap. In negotiation, when you let the other side's own aggression commit them to a position that breaks them. In any contest where you are the weaker side, the instinct is always to fight strength with strength, and that instinct is usually wrong. The smarter move, the Hannibal move, is to ask a different question. How do I make my opponent's greatest advantage the very thing that destroys him? An apparent weakness, placed correctly, can be the most powerful trap you own. 2,000 years later, soldiers still study this battle. Generals still dream of repeating it, and now you understand why. If this story taught you something, subscribe, because every episode here breaks down one decisive move by one of history's greatest minds and the lesson you can actually use. And tell me in the comments, if you had been a Roman soldier that morning, watching that weak enemy center fall back, would you have charged in for the kill or would you have smelled the trap? I'll see you in the next one.